Brilliant. Okay, so just to begin, I think Martha's already given a good overview of myself and my background. Of pretty much everything digital marketing, all digital related, for kind of sort of 10 years professionally and 10 years learning on my own time during education. These are a few of the brands that I've worked with in the past. Most of them I can't share because I've signed a non-disclosure agreement with the projects I've worked on. So let's get straight into like the main content here. Just a quick background, because I know all of you are going to be at different levels. Some of you will actually work with SEO agencies. Some of you may do SEO yourselves. And some people may not even, you may have heard it, but may not really understand what SEO actually is. So just to give you a quick overview here, and I'll just bring up the pointer on my screen. In this example, and if you follow the green pointer here, I've typed in the search term into Google, distance learning marketing courses UK. Now, what you see at the top here, prefixed with the word ad, these are all pay-per-click ads, so paid search results. So every time somebody clicks on one of those, the company advertising there will pay for every click, regardless of whether or not somebody makes a purchase, makes an inquiry, or just goes back to the search results straight away again. And it will be, so in this example for Google, it will be Google AdWords, where you bid on keywords to appear here. Now, this bottom part you see here is what's called either sort of the natural search results or the organic search results. And this is what SEO affects. So search engine optimization, as we can see with this definition here, is effectively optimizing your website to make search engines understand and convince them that you are the most relevant resource for the search query someone has typed in here. And every click-through you get from these organic search rankings are free. If you don't include obviously paying a SEO agency or your time if you're doing the SEO yourself. But the tough part is obviously, as you can see here, distance learning marketing courses UK, the Oxford College of Marketing coming #1 in the organic search rankings for that term. Everybody else above them here are paying to get that traffic. So let's go on to the next slide, and I'll just get rid of that pointer on my screen. So a very quick overview without going into too much detail, because you don't really need to understand the detail, just an overview of how search engines actually work. So they begin by crawling through your website. So the way they do this is they send their search bots, also known as spiders, and they crawl the web pages and look at the information on your web pages. So they don't just look at the information that you and I see, the text on the screen, the images. What they also look at is the source code of the web page. So that's the actual HTML code behind the page that the web bots see, but the user doesn't see. And the way they actually discover websites is by following text and image links. So that's why when you're linking to other websites, what effectively you're doing is you're creating pathways for these spiders to discover new content. So bear that in mind when you're creating links, even throughout your own website, that the better text you use in your links and the more well structured your navigation is, the more likely it is that with these web bots, when they come, are going to discover new content. So that covers the crawling aspect, but then what comes next is indexing. So this is where these search bots that come along, they decide what your page is about. So remember, they're looking at the source code of the web page. They're looking at the text and image links they followed to get to this page, and then they're looking at the actual content on that page as well. So a combination of that, plus obviously which words you're using on the page, will help them to determine your relevancy for the keywords and phrases. So in the example I gave you just a moment ago for the Oxford College of Marketing search result, that Google had determined from doing this crawling and indexing that distance learning courses for marketing is what that page was about. So what they then do is they build an index, which is effectively a database of all the URLs they have ever discovered. So you can imagine billions and billions. So they don't determine just what an actual website is about. It's down to a page level. So what is this actual page about? What is this resource about? And obviously what they're looking at is all the different combinations of keywords that can relate to that page. And then once they've got this data, so all this information is sitting in multiple databases, then comes the important part that you really want to affect, and that's the ranking. So the way the ranking works is the user enters a search term, as in my previous example, into the search engine. The search engine is then matching that query to its database that it built here. So, for example, I put in the combination of words distance learning courses UK. What Google is then doing is looking in its database and saying, okay, for that combination of keywords in that particular order, what is the likely to be the most relevant result in my whole database of billions of URLs? What is the single document, the single page that is the most relevant to that search term? And that is determined by over 200 factors. And don't worry, we're not going to go over 200 different factors. In fact, if anyone tells you they know all 200 factors, they'd be lying, because even people who work within Google don't know them. This is obviously all kind of patented technology. But what we do know is there's proven processes that work that will affect your ranking. And that is what we're going to get into, like the main part of this presentation. So the things we can do to affect our search rankings are, there's three main categories things fall into. There's technical optimization of your entire website. There's on-page optimization. So that's looking at a page level of what keywords you want to rank for, making sure that you've got enough content on that page for Google to determine what this page is actually about. So obviously, if you've just got one paragraph of text, it's highly unlikely, out of all the billions of URLs Google has in its database, it's going to serve your page as a highly trusted resource of information when someone types in a search result. And then what comes is the off-page optimization. So this is mainly about getting links into your website and being recognized as a trusted resource by the search engines. And the way you will get recognized as a trusted resource is having other trusted sites linked to you. So I'm talking about things from such as the BBC, such as other newspaper websites. When you put out press releases, they will link to you. So think about being a brand. What if you were a brand website? You would expect other publications to speak about you. You would expect people in your industry, other related websites, to link to you. And from a brand, you would expect to see some social media activity at some level. So these things help send trust signals to Google that you are a trusted resource to serve to their audience, and their audience is the person typing in the search query. And just going back to the technical optimization right there, effectively making sure your site can be found and indexed by the search engines is a big one. If your website is not being seen by search engines at all, then there are several reasons to why that could be. The main one is you're blocking search engines from crawling your website and indexing your website. If it can't crawl through your website, it can't discover new content. If it can't index your web pages, it can't add you to their database. So therefore, you don't exist. And I do actually have a blog post coming soon on the Oxford College of Marketing's website that will explain some of the common reasons why your website isn't getting found in Google. So look out for that one. Making sure your website loads fast. So when I say your website, actually you're at a web page level, you want to be under 3 seconds ideally, which may sound like quite quick. In the grand scheme of things these days, people's attention spans, the fact is your competitors are only one click on the back button away to go back, look at the other search results and click through to somebody else if you didn't find what you're looking for or the site's not working fast enough. You also need to have your website working on all devices. In this day and age, there's just no excuse not to have a website that works on mobile. And I'm not necessarily talking about a whole new website. You can look into something called responsive web design, but you need to have a website that functions on all devices and having no broken links as well. Because if you think about it, if you come to a website and find broken links, as a human, you're thinking, well, this website doesn't get updated, people aren't maintaining it. And of course, that's what the search engines are going to think as well. Somebody's not maintaining this website. So you'll be amazed how doing some of these simple things, particularly fixing broken links, can actually boost you up the search rankings. So obviously, SEO does take a lot of resource investment, so in time and in money of either paying somebody for their time or the salary you get paid using your time. So why is it important? If you're trying to sort of sell this into a manager, for example, or senior management, or if you are a consultant yourself and you're trying to let a client know of, well, why should I bother about this? I mean, it may seem obvious to us, but some of these figures are very useful in helping people realize why it's worth the investment into SEO. So Google currently has 86% share of the UK search market as of 2017. And that's why this presentation, when I'm talking about search engines, SEO, I'm really talking about Google. It's, let's focus on the 86%. 67% of clicks from the search engine result pages go to the top 3 search results. Now, the reason it's only the top 3, as you would have seen in the screenshot earlier, is there are a lot more ads appearing on above the fold now. As more ads appear, obviously people are going to start clicking on the ads more than the natural search results. So that's why it's important that you want to be as high as possible on those search results. And the way Google works is it's a lot easier to move a website from ranking on the 3rd page of Google to the top of page 2 than it is to go from the bottom of page 1 to the top of page 1. The further up you move, the harder it gets. And this is something, so those of you who work on websites that would have a commercial intent, so maybe not-for-profits would not be a good one for this, but for searches that have a commercial intent, so people who are looking to buy, who are looking for prices, searches with commercial intent, 70% of clicks go to the top 10 search results. So you don't need to, when it comes to commercial intent, being in the top 3 is obviously takes a lot more resource, a lot more time, a lot of more investment to get there. But if you can just break onto that page 1 of Google, you can still get a chunk of these 70% of clicks that are going to those top 10 search results. So that just goes to show that people who are looking to make a purchase are more willing to click on a lot more links to make sure that they get the right deal that they're looking for or the right product. So very briefly, this is something that you should be aware of, is over time Google makes updates to its algorithms. So what the algorithms are they are ways in which Google determines whether a site can be trusted, how it should be ranked, how it should be categorized. There's a lot of algorithm updates that have happened over the years, and the most important ones you really want to be aware of are Penguin, and that effectively, forget about the name really, just think about the effect of what it's doing, is that affects over optimized websites. So people who are effectively trying to spam the internet with trying to get pay people to link into them with the text they want to rank for. So imagine, for example, my website's leebenning.com. Let's say as of tomorrow, I've all of a sudden got 1,000 links of people linking to my homepage with the text SEO consultant UK. That doesn't really look natural, does it, that these have popped up all of a sudden? So 4 terms that are what are considered money terms, commercial intent terms. So people who are all of a sudden attracting lots of links and that linking text has commercial intent, that can get them penalized, and you can find all of a sudden you'll have a big drop in your search rankings. So if you've ever had a drop in search rankings, it's going to either have been this Penguin or this Panda, and that affects what they call thin content sites. So if you think of websites where you land on the search result and it's got 1 paragraph of text, for example, or websites where they're trying to create a different page to rank for every search term possible. So let's say I had pages on my website where I wanted to rank for SEO consultant UK, SEO services, SEO specialist, expert SEO, and they all had separate pages with just 1 paragraph of text. That's not really going to be the most relevant of search results to be serving to a user. So if you have expected big drops over the past maybe sort of 3 years, it's probably going to be this or this. I mean, the mobile update, self-explanatory. It's the preference for showing mobile-friendly sites and mobile search results. Also, a lot of people called kind of mobile-geddon, which was when Google decided that it would start showing this preference. So if you didn't have a website that was mobile-friendly, you kind of dropped off on mobile search results. And Pigeon is all about showing relevant local search results. So I'm sure you start to realize if you do a search from your mobile that, and obviously, again, depending on where you're located at the time, using GPS or the Wi-Fi signal you're on, Google will determine if I was searching for example, a marketing agency, it's going to show me a map result with marketing agencies that are local to me. Again, that's not for all types of searches, but ones where you're probably looking to actually go to a physical location to see somebody. So, for example, professional services, if I just typed in accountants, I'm going to get accountants that are close to me in the search results. Whereas if I typed that same search result when I was in another city, I would get ones that are local to my city, the city I'm actually in, sorry, at the time. So it's important to keep up to date with algorithm changes. I wouldn't say if you don't work in SEO, it's not part of your main job role, you don't need to be looking at this on a regular basis. But what I would do is if you ever experience a drop in traffic, first thing to do, type into Google algorithm update, and you'll find if there's been a recent algorithm update, somebody in the SEO press would have written about it. But as a general rule, if you're following best practice, which we will go over, and you're remaining a trusted resource, so you're not spamming the internet with irrelevant content just so you can link back to your website to make it look more authoritative, then usually nothing bad will happen. And I say that with the caveat of most of the time, simply because there was a time when nobody really realized having thin content, so having kind of just, for example, one line of text and an image. There were a lot of, especially B2B brands, that just thought, well, I just want to put sort of one listing about each of the services I offer, one paragraph and an image. That will tell my customers, they know what I do, that'll tell them everything I do. There was a time when we thought that was okay, but now we know it's not. So always check if you have a drop in traffic, check has there been an algorithm update as your very first thing, because it could be that your competitors are dropping in traffic as well, so it's not just you. So a quick word about web spam, as I mentioned it briefly before. You may have heard the term black hat SEO, black hat, grey hat SEO. Effectively, it's cheating the system. The biggest thing people do is buying links. So it's against Google's guidelines to pay somebody to link to your website for the purposes of improving your search engine ranking. So links matter a lot in SEO. As we touched on earlier, from relevant resources and authoritative resources, that's where you want them from. Now, if all of a sudden you've got 1,000 links coming in the space of a month from lots of random blogs with content that doesn't even read in proper English, Google's going to find out about that, and they don't even need to manually send someone to look at it. They've got algorithms. They've got they can use scientific methods to determine, are you breaking the rules? Are you doing something unnatural? So what happens when you're found out to be doing anything that's considered spammy is that reduces Google's trust in your website. So when Google's trust in your website goes, and you may have heard of PageRank before, that's the rank out of 10 that Google gives every page on your website. Every individual page, also your homepage, has that rank. We used to be able to see that through the Google Toolbar add-on. Google have hidden that from public view now, but they do still use that information. I mean, there's other ways to get an understanding of how authoritative your website is, but that's outside the scope of this presentation, because we just want to focus on the real minimum you need to know. So Google has a dedicated web spam team. Oh, sorry, I've just seen my voice keeps cutting out. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. So Zainab, it may just be your audio. So if you check your audio, if you've got headphones in, perhaps check that it's pushed in correctly. So Google has a dedicated web spam team. That's how serious they take people trying to cheat the system. So that's all the web spam team are doing. They're looking for people that are trying to work the system in this black hat manner in order to boost their search engine rankings. The types of website that usually try to cheat the system are not big brands. They're not websites that want to stay around for a long time doing business. So a lot of affiliate websites will do this. And when I say affiliate websites, I'm talking about pages that may have about 10 sites that may have about 10 pages on them. And they're simply just trying to earn as much money through people clicking links on their website as much as they can before Google finds them out. So the real point I want to hammer home here is it's important to follow Google's guidelines, and this link here and these slides will be available to you. I'm sure we'll find a way of getting them to you, or we'll publish them online. Clicking this link here, follow this link. It's Google's guidelines document for search engine optimization. Follow the information in there and you won't go far wrong. But again, what I'm going through, some of the things with you now, are giving you kind of sort of a lot better grounding than that document will. So before you start to optimize your website, as I'm sure if we're all marketers on the call here today, or if we've studied any marketing courses, we'll know that before we make any changes, we want to know where we are now. because we need something to benchmark against. We need to know, are we improving? So to benchmark current position, now this, if you don't already have access to Google Search Console, which used to be known as Google Webmaster Tools, so you may hear people refer to it as that, but Google Search Console, you can sign up here, follow the on-screen instructions of how to verify your ownership of that website. So you may need to involve your IT team or your web developers. I mean, better still ask them to set up, to just go and register it for you and give you a login. But from here, you can actually find out what your current keyword rankings are. So, albeit on an average. So, for those of you that have had that have been looking at web statistics for a long time, you'll know that years and years ago, you would see if you had Google Analytics installed as your analytics software, you would be able to see every keyword your website was getting traffic for from Google and what page it was going to. Now, in Google Search Console, it doesn't map the keywords to the page you're getting the traffic to, but you'll just be able to see which keywords you do rank for. Then you can manually type them into Google and see where you rank. But that gives you a good idea of the average, your average search ranking for certain keywords as Google sees it. Now, you want to get the number of visits and the top landing pages from your website analytics. So the reason for that is you want to see, obviously, we want to test, are the number of visits going up? And by looking at the top landing pages as well, are the number of visits to these actual pages that are our top pages going up? And what you want to do is you want to segment this by organic traffic only. So only the organic search traffic is what you want to look at. And if you have Google Analytics installed, which I highly recommend, mainly because it's free, and second because it's just really great. It can do everything. I mean, I've worked for a lot of big brands that use a lot of these paid for analytics software, and I've never really come across them utilizing anything in them that can't be done in Google Analytics. So from Google Analytics, it's quite easy to segment by organic traffic. Search Google for how to do it if you're not sure how to do it. But then you want the number of organic visits you're getting and the top landing pages that are getting traffic from search results. What you also want is the number of conversions you are getting as well, because ultimately traffic means nothing if it's not converting. So what you may consider a conversion will depend on your type of business. So if you're a B2B company that doesn't sell any physical products, you may want to look at the number of leads you're getting or the number of inquiries generated through a contact form. You can set that up in Google Analytics. You may have, for example, if you work in education, you may have a prospectus that you want people to download. That might tell you that people are considering studying your courses, might be a good indicator of interest. So that might be something. And again, if you're an e-commerce website, it's obviously a lot easier. You'll want e-commerce tracking set up, and you'll want to look at either e-commerce sales or conversion rates. So what we want to see is, as we're improving our search results, our search rankings, are we targeting the right search terms? Because are sales, conversions, leads, are they going up? That's the result we want. So this is the real meat of the presentation now we're getting into. That was an overview, and will probably give you a great basic understanding. Tell you what, that may even be a lie. It'll probably give you quite an advanced understanding of how search engines work. But what we want to get into now are some processes of how you can actually improve your search rankings. So number one, technical optimization. Now, I'm going to guess that most people who are taking ownership of SEO in their business, or even working with SEO agencies, most of the time, it's not somebody from a technical background or somebody who has the authority or ability to make technical changes to the website. But that's great. That by signing up with Google Search Console, which I gave you the link to earlier, you can actually, from within Google Search Console, you can see here, you can see crawl errors. So this will tell you, so on these crawl errors, for example, on this example page here, you will see, you can't see it there, but the response code is 404, which means it's a broken link. But if you click on each of these pages, there will be a pop-up, and that will tell you what the issue is. So either the page couldn't load, so Google couldn't load the page, Google had a problem finding the page, it just wasn't found on your website, and sometimes it will show you some of the pages some of the websites that are linking to that page as well. So you'll want to either fix those pages, put content on them, recreate them if you've deleted them before, or you want to redirect broken links to the equivalent page on your website. So let's say you had a product and it was the 2016 model, and you've just deleted that page because the 2017 model's out now. Well, what you want to do is you want to actually redirect that URL where it used to sit to the 2017 page, and you want to make it what's known as a 301 permanent redirect. And again, your web developer or your IT team, they should know what that is. So this is something that you would find the issues here, but then you can send the fixes to your web team, so to your technical web team. You can also check for security issues here. So if Google is, for example, thinking it's found some malware on your site, something dodgy, that it can be a good indication if your website's been hacked. So obviously that's good to know from a security perspective anyway, an internal security perspective, but also from a trust perspective of Google, because once you fix that, and again through through Google Search Console as it's called now, you let them know that you've fixed it. That will again increase the trust back in your website. And also very, very handy, and again, so many people I know within businesses that take responsibility for the website and website traffic just either don't have Google Search Console activated, or they never log into it. But this is a great part here, is you can actually see under search appearance, HTML improvements, Google will actually tell you, it will recommend some improvements to make to your actual HTML code. Now, sometimes you can see here long meta descriptions, long title tags. Some of these you'll be able to update within your content management system. So for example, if you use WordPress, you'll be able to update some of them on WordPress. Some of them, such as duplicates, again, you can update, but there might be some information that pops up here where you will need to get the technical team involved, so your IT team or your web developer. But again, this is the bare minimum you should be doing as far as SEO goes to actually check that your website is technically optimized. Now, this is the part where you guys on the call will probably spend the bulk of your time. It's the on-page optimization. It's actually optimizing an individual web page to rank for a targeted keyword. So I want to highlight again, just in case I haven't highlighted it enough already, when you're looking to get a page ranked in Google, you should be targeting an actual individual web page, not a website as a whole. You don't want every web page to be trying to rank for the same search term, because what you're doing is you're diluting, you're creating dilution from your website. It's cannibalizing the efforts, because let's say you've got 3 web pages trying to rank for the same keyword. Well, it would be a lot more, so it'd be a lot more useful for you to be focusing on the one, because when you're linking into that page throughout your website, when you think about your navigation structure, that you're telling Google, okay, I've only got this one page, this is the trusted resource for that keyword, it's more likely to rank high. If you've got a handful of pages, then you're not really focusing all your efforts on getting that one page, improving that one page. And also, if you've got 10 web pages, for example, all trying to rank for the same search term, it could be the fact that are those 10 pages really the most relevant to the user? Are they actually going to get somebody to convert to become a lead, an inquiry, a sale? So how do you find the most appropriate keywords for your web page? The simplest way to do this is first is look at what are you already ranking for, because that will tell you Google already sees this web page, sees my web page as relevant for this search term. So checking in Google Search Console the keywords you already rank for. And again, this is something I'm surprised as how many people don't know you can see this information in Google Search Console. So you can see keywords that your website currently ranks for. It won't tell you which web page, but again, if you look at any of them that are ranking in the top 3 web pages, so anything ranking from 1 all the way through to sort of, let's say 40. So if you're ranking from 1 to 40, type those keywords into Google and see which actual web page is ranking for that search term, and that's the page you want to optimize for that search term. So other ways to find appropriate keywords is you can brainstorm ideas. What might somebody be searching for who would land on this web page and actually convert? You can look at competitor websites, competitor web pages. So if somebody has, again, let's say if you're a law firm, if somebody has a web page on family law solicitors, and that's an individual service your firm offers, go look at competitor websites. What words do they use on their web pages? Once you've got a list of keywords you want to target, you can type those into, so if you've got access to Google AdWords, and you can create an account for free. You will need to put your card details in these days, but you can just set up a campaign and pause it straight away, so you'll never be charged. But once you've got access to Google AdWords, you can go and use their keyword planner tool. And if you just type in Google keyword planner into Google, you'll find the link to it straight away, and you'll find resources on how to use it as well. But you can just provide this list of keywords, and Google will give you a rough idea of the search volume around those keywords. And the reason this is important is because, let's say I was going to target a keyword, for example, let's go back to digital marketing courses. I might want to type in digital marketing programs, for example. So I've done some work at a university. They called all their degree courses programs. Now, if I type in digital marketing programs, I might see that there's between 10 to 50 searches on that search term a month. If I use the search term digital marketing courses, then there might be 5,000 to 10,000 searches on that per month. So that might be what I want to search, what I want to target. Again, if also take a look at who currently ranks on page 1 for the search term you're targeting, and be realistic if you think you're going to compete with them. So I'll just give you an example of an e-commerce client of mine. Now, this e-commerce client was a startup. Their website wasn't even ranked in Google at all. They were just, they just started up on a shoestring budget, and some of the search terms they wanted to target would actually have them competing with Amazon, with big flower delivery companies, with really big gift companies. Like the top 10 of the search results were dominated by those. So we actually went for the lower volume search terms because we knew we could compete better there. So something to consider again when selecting your keywords is just to search your intent. So we looked at commercial intent earlier. So keywords that contain words such as buy, purchase, pricing. If people are typing these in, you'll probably want to take them to a page where they can actually buy something, to a product page, for example. Now, if people are doing an informational search, so keywords that contain what, when, where, how, news, then you'll probably want to take them to an article page or a product overview page, because they're not ready to actually make a purchase yet. So taking people, depending upon what some of the words they use, the language they use, you want to make sure you take them to the right page. And then there's obviously location intent keywords as well, such as near, nearby, directions. So the great way to target these is to actually have the locations on your website. So let's say, let's go back to accountants. If I was optimizing a website for an accountant who had physical locations in Brighton, Portsmouth, and Southampton, I would make sure there's pages on that website for each of those three locations, and it's optimized with the directions of how to get there from. I would embed a Google map into there. I would include directions from after leaving the motorway, the nearest rail station, all those types of things to make sure I'm going to get the location ranking on there. So once you've got your keywords you want to target, and importantly, the actual URL, the actual page you want to target with that keyword, what you should do is create a spreadsheet, also known as a keyword map, that just has these columns in it. So it has the URL, the target keyword, and the current ranking. Again, if you're measuring other things such as the number of visits that page gets from organic search results, the number of conversions it gets, you can add those columns as well. But this is so we know when we look back, we can always remember what keyword we're trying to target for that page, and we can monitor its ranking and its number of visits and number of conversions as well. So the next step here is, once we know which we've got our keywords, one good way to figure out which page to target is, and again, this is a search operator not a lot of people know about on Google, is we can see if we've already got web pages indexed for that search term. So we just use the site search operator with the domain name and then add the keyword on the end. And I can see questions. Sorry, I'll check the questions at the end, just so I don't break the flow of the presentation here. If you type the site plus the domain name and then the keyword, what this is doing is this is saying search for the term distance learning for everything in Google's index, everything that Google determines is relevant, but just look only on oxfordcollegeofmarketing.com. So on this search term here, I've seen, and it scrolls down further than this, but you can see straight away on these 3 pages here is, as far as Google's concerned, for the search term of distance learning on the oxfordcollegeofmarketing.com website, Google considers this page to be the most relevant for that search term on this website, this to be the second, this to be the third. Now, for an example, let's just say if this third page we thought would be more relevant to users, and this is the page we can see is converting the best for us, this is the page that we really want to come number 1, well, what we can do is we just make sure we optimize this page for that search term better than this one. And we can actually, even if they've both got the same information on, we could also redirect one of the pages to the other one. So again, we're not cannibalizing our efforts in trying to rank too many pages for the same search term. It's a lot more powerful just to focus the effort on one page. But again, in this circumstance, there might be a reason why you want multiple pages to be ranking for distance learning. So again, obviously, as I just said here, what we want to do once we've used this search operator is check, is the page appropriate for this search term? So do we have an appropriate page that already exists that we could optimize for that search term? If not, let's look at some of these other pages here. And if no page exists on our website, then we'll either suggest a new page gets created, or if we're able to create one ourselves in the content management system, then we can just create it ourselves. So now the last bit, this should almost be your checklist every time you create a piece of content, a new piece of content for your website. So let's say you've got a target keyword. So you're creating a new piece of content for the website. Let's say even if it's just a blog post, consider what search terms you might want to target for that blog post. Make sure it doesn't conflict with other web pages that are targeting that keyword that are more relevant. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make sure, so in this example, we're targeting distance learning. We want to make sure that our target keywords appear in the page title, which is the most important place. Now, the page title is what appears in your browser tab, and the only other place an end user will see it is it's the text that appears here in the Google search results pages. So this blue or purple, because I've clicked on it, text, that's where it appears. So it doesn't actually have to appear as a title on your body content, on your actual web page itself, but this is the most important place to put your keyword. The next place you want it is in your meta description. Again, that is not something that appears to the end user on the actual web page. The meta description is just so you can control what appears as this snippet of text here in the Google search results. And the reason you would want to create a meta description yourself rather than letting Google determine, if you don't create one, Google will just look at the text on your page and it will take a snippet of text from wherever it determines relevant. But the reason you would want to create it yourself is because this way you can create a good call to action that can entice somebody out of all of the search results that are listed to click on your search result rather than one of your competitors. And just to let you know that the meta description, so this snippet of text here, the meta description isn't actually a ranking factor for Google. It doesn't affect your rankings. All it does is it affects the click-through rate to your website from search results, and click-through rate will affect your search rankings. So you also want it in your URL ideally. Now I know for everyone this isn't always possible, that you can't sometimes control this from your content management system, but you'll see here that for this page on the Oxford College of Marketing's website, we want to rank for distance learning. We've got distance learning appearing here in the page title, here in the URL, and here in the meta description. So remember as well that this text anywhere you use the text gets bolded in the search results, which again will also attract somebody to click through. And I can just answer that one quickly. I just saw coming out of the corner of my eye. Yes, you can have a call to action in the meta description. So when I say call to action, I don't mean actually putting something like a button in there. I mean some actual call to action text, such as prices starting from £150, click here to buy today. That type of call to action rather than an actual call to action button. So I hope that answers your question there, Ramina. And as far as actually on your main web page itself goes, is you want your keyword in the page heading, which is your page heading is usually in bold at the top of your web page. It's the title. It's the title that the user sees of the web page. The reason I call it page heading rather than title is because this bit here is what we generally refer to as the page title. The title of the page that the user sees, we generally call the page heading. Now, the page heading should be wrapped in an H1 HTML tag. And again, if you're not a technical person, don't worry about that. Check with your IT team, your web developer, let them know, do I have an H1 tag on this web page? You should only have one of them. and it should be around the main heading of the web page. So that will again will send a big signal to Google. Remember, what you're doing is you're almost saying, when you're creating an index, if you think of this as the title in Google's index, when someone types in distance learning, what they're going to look at is, do I have a page on distance learning? Yep, these guys have got one. Now, are they really relevant for this search term? Let's check. Oh, it's in the URL. It's also in the page heading. Oh, and it also appears a few times in the main body copy of the web page as well. Now, again, that's somewhere where a lot of people miss out. That they've read a few SEO tutorials and they think, okay, in order to get my web page to rank for a search term, I just need to put it here, here, and in the page heading on the website. No, you also want it in the main body copy as well. Don't go overdoing it, so don't make it look too spammy. You should always write for humans first, and then go back and write for the search engines afterwards. So if, for example, you've created a 500-word description about a service your company offers, what you want to do now is go back in there and say, okay, every time I've used the word it's or the or the service, anything generic, can I actually fit the search term in there instead that I'm trying to rank for? So if I just said, if, for example, the body text of this web page that this clicks through to just said, through our course, you will learn, etc., XYZ. Instead of on this course, I would put on this distance learning course, just to add that extra relevance. So again, these on-page optimization parts are probably the ones that most people think, to them, that's all SEO is, just the on-page optimization. They're not considering the technical aspect. Does my website load fast? Have I minimized the number of broken links? Have I redirected pages that Google has indexed that no longer exist to a new page? Do I have a good navigational structure on my web page? So from my main navigation, am I linking to some of my most highly valued resources and pages? Even this one slide is what most people think SEO actually is. Again, it's a good checklist to have. And to be fair, I've probably misled you with the title of this presentation, the bare minimum you should know about SEO. This is probably the bare minimum here, just this one slide. But with the other information I've given you, I'm fairly confident that from anyone else who does not work in SEO as a profession, it's not part of their job title, that from this presentation, you'll know more than at least 90% of those people. So at least 90% of people who just know what a website is, how to create content, they've got a rough idea that I should use some keywords somewhere and I might get ranking. I'm confident that you'll know by the end of this presentation 90% more than those guys do. Not more than the experts do, though, or people who are working with agencies day in, day out, because they should be getting told this by the people they work with. So what we're moving on to now is, this is the next part is the off-page optimization. This is the big part that most people miss out for a number of reasons. One, it can be time consuming and you might not see the immediate results of what you're doing. Also, it's not the sexy part of SEO. But it's an essential that you need to have links coming into your website in order for it to boost the authority of your website. And having the authority of your website boosted means when you create new pages on your website, or you do the on-page optimization, it's a lot easier to get that page ranking than it is from a website that doesn't have really any links coming into it or from anywhere with any authority. So that's why it's quite hard when new websites launch for them to outrank the people on page 1 of Google, or for people to outrank well-known brands. is they've got years and years of trusted links coming into them. But again, you can overtake them in time. Unfortunately, it will take time. So number one thing to do, the process of off-page optimization, is to promote the content you're creating. Now, the way you do this, so for example, you've created a blog post that will be useful to a lot of people. So you've created, for example, an article on how the Data Protection Act may affect UK companies as a result of Brexit. Now, it's something kind of topical. It's something that kind of quite timely and will remain timely for some time. But if it only ever appears on your website and no one knows about it, I mean, that could be a very useful piece of content. So doing outreach to industry publications. So again, not necessarily, you don't have to go just to national publications. So trying to do press releases, for example, to get in the main media websites such as BBC, such as like newspaper websites, the tech blogs, etc. That you may have links to industry kind of governing bodies, for example, who are always looking to link to relevant content. So outreach to industry publications and key influencers. And you can find key influencers. The easiest way to find key influencers is on social media, in particular on Twitter. Find these people, follow them, people that have a lot of followers, people that have that will link to websites quite often, either through their own websites or they will share content on social media quite often that's similar to yours. So outreaching to them, via both social media. So on Twitter, a great one to outreach to people. Why is it important to get your website listed in relevant directions? I'll get to that in a moment. So the reason to outreach to people via social media is it's a way to get past the noise of email. So if you start following someone on social media that you think if they shared something with their followers, it could bring in a lot of visits and also a lot of links to your website, don't just try and go asking them for a link straight away. Try and build up a relationship with them over time and then send them a direct message. Also, if you find blog owners or people with industry websites, send them an email to make them aware of your content. A lot of people just don't take time to promote their content. You've created this great piece of content. Why not promote it? And content is not always just text. It's not always an article. It could be some type of calculator, for example. So it could be if you offer legal services on a retainer, that you might be able to have a calculator, an ROI calculator. That will you see a return on your investment? How much time input, how much time you spend. Also, how long is the webinar? I've only got 3 slides left, Amy, so it won't be long now. Probably 2 slides really. So creating things such as a calculator, some piece of software embedded into a web page. The purpose of these obviously is to get links, but links of people who are linking to you as a resource that would actually use that content, that would consume that content. So doing it the white hat way and not the black hat way. And a big tip is it's easier to get links into articles and resources such as calculators than it is to your product pages. I mean, think about it. If you're asking someone, will you link to my new product page? Great. If you're a really well-known brand, you probably are going to get a lot of press naturally anyway. But it's a lot easier to get links to articles and resources. And the more links you have coming into your website overall, the more authority it passes to your overall domain name. Again, a kind of reverse way of doing this is to contribute content. So to do guest blogs on other people's websites. So that makes them aware of your website. It also makes them, it also obviously kind of creates the links back to your website. You can also contribute expert opinions to articles. I see someone asking, should a link lead to your homepage or product page? Again, that depends on what you're talking about. So if you're outreaching for the purposes of content, you want people to link to the actual content. So you wouldn't want someone to say, think about it from a user perspective. If I was reading an article and on a blogger I trusted, or somebody on social media I trusted, and they've written an article and they recommend that, oh, there's a great new ROI calculator on this business's website, and I click it and I end up on the homepage, then that's not a good experience for me. But if I click the link and I go to the actual calculator they were talking about, then that's a good experience. So always make sure you link to a relevant page on the website. Forget where it is on the website, just relevance is what matters. So business listings. So here, registering with key directory and map sites such as Google My Business, Yao.com, Thompson Local, these send signals round to Google. So Google looks at pages such as this, and what they will look for, and it's important to make sure your business name, address, and phone number are consistent across all of them. Because let's say, for example, I am, try not to use lawyers and accountants as examples all the time, but I'm going to take an accountant again. I'm an accountant in Southampton. Now, I'm called Acme Accountants in Southampton, and I've got a certain phone number. If I'm consistent across all these trust directories, and obviously on Google's map listing, then when somebody's looking for an accountant in Southampton, Google's going to know, oh, okay, this guy is listed on all the directories, all the main trusted directories. So therefore, this is a real business. This exists. It probably really does have a physical presence. So I'm going to promote you higher up the search rankings. So it's all about the local search rankings for business listings. I wouldn't go focusing too much on this if you are not a business that offers services or products on a local level. So if you don't have a physical location where customers can visit you, or you don't offer your services only within a local area, that's when this comes in. And again, if you had multiple locations, you would register each of your locations with these directories. So, and then last one, social media. So on social media, where I'm saying linking to your homepage from all your social media profiles, that's because this is effectively all about your brand. Your social media accounts are part of your brand. So from any social media account you have, there's a lot of people that don't actually use in the profile. So when I'm talking about your profile, I'm talking about when you set up your profile, you upload the image, you upload a description about your business, link back to your website as well, and post regularly, because again, these are links coming back to your website. But don't just share content from your own site, share it from other people's as well. What this is doing is it's sending brand signals out to the search engines that you're a real business, a real company, that you're doing some activity, you're doing some marketing activity, you're trying to create some buzz. So last slide now, just monitoring performance. So obviously we would have benchmarked where we started from earlier on. What we want to do is we want to set obviously our KPI. So maybe it's organic search traffic, top landing pages, conversions. Google Search Console, we can check, are we reducing the number of broken links? Are we reducing crawl errors? Are our keyword rankings going up? And if you want, if rather than doing it manually, you want something that automatically tracks your search rankings, you'd have to put the keywords in yourself, but then it will tell you where you rank for Google in different countries. There's a company called AccuRanker. Type them into Google. They're a cloud-based software. It will just automatically check for you I think actually on all of the plans, it may be on a daily basis, where your rankings are. So you'll be able to see the very next day of, did you have an effect on your search ranking from the changes you made? And the way to actually have control over this, and again, obviously I imagine like a lot of you are sort of marketing students or plan to study sort of with Oxford College of Marketing. You're all obviously it's always going to be about control. How are you controlling this? Having a monthly SEO report. So your monthly SEO report will actually have these numbers feeding into it, your rankings, your search traffic, your conversions. Are they going up? Are the number of broken links increasing, crawl errors increasing? Because then what this does, this feeds the discussion with your kind of web team or development team or IT team and the content team as well, the people that actually can edit or create content. And it's all about continuous improvement. So you don't just do SEO once, you don't optimize your website once and that's it. You revisit at least on a monthly basis, and then you start the whole cycle through again of technical optimization, check for the technical errors that are there, make sure you've done your on-page optimization and your off-page optimization as well. But on-page is probably where you're going to spend the bulk of your time. So I can see a few questions popping up there now, and we're now on to questions. So I'll just take Edward's one because I can see that's the latest one that's popped in. So I see how directories could be useful for people searching a solicitor service, but it seems like they've replaced article directories such as e-zine articles. I understand what you're talking about there, Edward, of e-zine articles. So article directories used to be, I would consider it black hat these days, black hat SEO. So what people would do is they would create articles on other websites, which anyone can update for free. And what they would do is they would create it with the purpose of linking back to their website, just to try and get another link into their website to help with their rankings. Those generally just don't really work anymore. And I understand what you're saying, Edward, is it effectively, are you registering with the directories probably just to get a link back to your website, but albeit not a very authoritative one? Some people do that. Don't register with directories just to get the links. Register with them if you are, as you said in your example, a solicitor service, and people might use it to look you up. Don't register with it for the sake of getting a link back to your website, because that link
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, thank you very much, Lee. It's been a great webinar. I will go back to the very first question from Christina. She said, I work in education, and one of the main problems we had is what you said during your webinar. The messaging and the whole website copy is about independent schools, whereas people are searching for private schools. How would you go about this challenge?
Okay. I think two kind of parts really there to that question. One of is the terminology you use, the text you use, are there brand guidelines that govern that? So going back to a university example that I worked with, that it was agreed at a high level. I know that there's a lot of people involved in signing these things off, but they decided to call their courses programs, and that was what they were called now. So that was mentioned in all the body copy. And yeah, I can see Christina saying, yes, they are brand guidelines. But the way we got around it is we didn't use the word programs in the body copy or what the user sees. We used it in the page titles. So they were happy with that as a compromise. So if you remember, and I'll just bring it back up on the slides here, I'll kind of go back. There we go. Oh. If you remember the page title, which is this part here, is only what appears in the search engine's result pages. They were happy for the word courses to appear here, whereas
when you click to view the page, brilliant. Thank you so much. The next question was from Esther, and that's when you were talking about current ranking on an organization. And Esther was asking whether you meant it in general or not. I don't know if you remember that part at all. Of an organization, yes. I'm not too sure. I think it was somewhere at the beginning of the webinar.
So when I'm talking about current ranking,
perfect. And while we're waiting, there was another question. Why is it important to get your website listed in the relevant directories?
I think I can see Esther still there. Esther, are you able to just elaborate on that question a little bit, please?
Yep.
Yep. I think that's the one I was just responding to Edward on. But the reason for that is it's sending sort of it's all around location-based search. So some directories that, I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of directories out there, and some exist where you have to pay somebody to be on them, and there's no search function, there's nothing. They solely exist for the purposes of SEO to help you get a link back to your website. You don't want to be on one of those websites. For the amount of effort you'll spend kind of going through adding your links on those websites, that it's not going to create much of a boost for you in your search rankings. The ones you want to be on are the trusted ones. So when I'm talking, so the trusted ones that have been around for years and years. So ones I spoke about, such as Yao.com. Yao.com is, as much as directories have dropped in their usage over time due to the fact that you can find the information a lot easier through Google, that people still use them, that they're a proper directory website. Also, I think I sort of mentioned Hot Frog as well. Again, Hot Frog is, it's not the prettiest of sites, but again, it is a trusted one. It's a proven trusted website. It has real people that once you add your content, they will phone you up to verify that you are a real company before they put you live. So it's those companies that actually have verification around them that Google will obviously trust. Think of almost like being like a human would trust. Okay, I can trust that you've actually been verified, that you're a real business, so I know that you actually really do exist at that address with that phone number. So if somebody is searching for, and let's again take back that solicitors in Southampton, that when Google looks in its database, it will also know, okay, you've registered with Google My Business, which powers Google Maps, so you have a Maps search result for this as well. You're also listed on these trusted directories. I therefore trust that you really exist in that place. So I will show you higher on the location-based search results. So it's all about location-based search results. That's what it's for. So I wouldn't spend time going around with directories, especially any of these paid directories. If you want to pay on Yao.com or something to get an upgrade.
Thank you so much, Lee. We've got another question from Christina. How do we recognize no follow links from directories? Also, when you have a profile on a relevant directory that you've paid for as a part of a promotion on an advert, is this deemed as paid link and therefore will be penalized from Google? An example of this is, I have a profile on Good Schools Guide and they are linking back to the website.
In general, I'll take the second one there. In general, on the second one, so if you're on Good Schools Guide, that when you pay somebody, so if you pay for advertising, again, people don't tend to do this so much anymore, but let's say let's say I wanted to pay the Oxford College of Marketing for a banner advertisement or text advertisement somewhere on their homepage or on one of their key landing pages. I wanted them to link back to my site, advertising myself as an SEO consultant. Then Google's guidelines say you should no follow that link because you're paying for it as an advertisement. What you're actually doing on the Good Schools Guide, by the sounds of it, is that you're actually paying for membership of that website. You're not paying for them to promote you. It's not an advert, it's a profile. Am I correct in thinking that? Yeah. So you should be fine with that. But as far as understanding if something's a follow or no follow link, and I purposely didn't mention that during this presentation because I didn't want people to focus on only trying to get followed links to their website, because it's natural you should have no follow links as well, is you can add a piece of text. So this is just for everybody else's knowledge. When people link to a website, they can add some code in there that says don't follow. It's called a no follow link. So it tells search engines effectively don't pass any link equity through to this page. I'm not vouching for their authority. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know if they're trusted or not. They just paid me for an ad, so I'm no following them. But the way you can tell if it's followed or no followed is if you've got, so I use Google Chrome as my web browser, and I'll just right click on a link, go to inspect, and then it will show me the HTML code, and then you can just see if you see a bit that says rel equals no follows, rel equals no follow, then it's no followed. But I really would not even focus on whether something's followed or no followed at all, unless you're paying for an actual advertisement.
Perfect. And I think we had one more question. So you answered the question from Romina earlier about the link leading to either homepage or product page. But then the next question from her after that was, what about the brand? Should we link it to our website? And that was, yeah, sure. So there was a question from Romina asking about whether whether the link, when you were talking about off-page optimization, whether the link should lead to homepage or product page. So I'm pretty sure you answered that question.
Sorry, could you just repeat?
But the next question after that from her was, but what about the brand? Should we link it to our website? Hopefully Romina will get back to us, because unfortunately I don't have any further information about the question.
So when you say what about the brand, in what context? Yeah. So hi Romina, if you're there, if you could just elaborate on that one. When you say about when you're talking about the brand, in what context? Do you mean if you mention the brand, if the brand's mentioned in an article, or in a piece of content? Because if it is, then yeah, it's natural to use the brand name to link. So for example, if I was writing an article and I mentioned the Oxford College of Marketing during my article, then I would link that Oxford College of Marketing text. I would use that as the hyperlinked text through to their homepage, because to me, I would be taking the visitors.
Thank you so much, Lee. It was a very informative webinar. I don't think we've got any further questions at all. However,
so yeah, if you
obviously we've recorded the webinar and we will be uploading the recording on Oxcom Learning, so you can have a look again. And if you have any further questions, just get in touch, and I'm pretty sure Lee will be happy to obviously explain any further if you have any further questions.